Good afternoon. So how do we know stuff? How do we know if this video is any good? If it gets 1 million views, does that make it good? What if I paid to advertise it and got 1 million views that way? Would that still make it good, or is that cheating? Or what if I paid to get 100,000 or 500,000 and then it took off on its own after that? Does that still make it good? Is that the definition? Is, popularity a consensus? What if it only gets 100 views, but then a famous influencer reposts it for whatever reason, and then it gets 1 million views? Does that make it good just because it's liked by somebody who's liked by a lot of people? How do we know who's a good surfer? Is it the gear they ride? Is it how they ride it? If they're on the pro tour, are they automatically good? What if they ride by themselves away from any cameras and nobody knows about it and they absolutely rip? Are they still good even if they're completely unknown and nobody knows? What about who's a local? How do we know who's a local, who's not? What's the definition? Do you have to be born there, live a certain distance from the break? What about the original locals, the indigenous folks that used to live here? They used to be part of the tribe and they either got swindled or forced off or killed. What if one of their ancestors comes back in a handmade canoe and paddles out? Are they going to get beat up by the new locals? Does that make it right? Or how do we know who's in and who's out and who's excluded, who's included? Property values around here keep going up. What if it goes up to the point that only gazillionaires can afford to live here? Do they become the locals and everyone else is now not a local just because they can't afford to live close to the beach? Like what are the rules? How do we know? If we're a local at one spot, does that automatically make us a local, period? We can travel to somebody else's spot and now we're a local there? Or do we have to, is there some universal pass we can travel around and show our local card? Or, how does it work? What if a famous politician buys a place here and they come and they have the security detail and the security kicks everyone out or doesn't let them get near the water because this bigwig is around? Does that make them a local and the rest are outsiders now? Is that how it goes? Is that the way? What about kooks? Is that too bad a word now? We can't say it anymore. And unlocals? What about Hawaiians? Are they automatically locals just because they're Hawaiian? What if they're mixed blood and part Hawaiian, part something else? Does that diminish their local status? What about the unlocals, the haoles that come from somewhere else and go to Hawaii? Can they ever be locals? Or if they live there for, if you're third generation, does that make you a local now? Or do you have to go back 2,500 years to be a local in Hawaii? Can you be a double local, local in, say, Hawaii and then have a house in Malibu and now you're double local? You got the California and Hawaii status? Is that possible? If you're not living in one spot, do you lose your local status if you go away and come back? Like, how does it work? How do we know? What about if you can do more tricks? If you can launch an air, does that mean you're boosted at your spot? Can you launch airs at both spots and be double boosted? Like, how does it work? The other day I had someone younger than me. I'll repeat that. They're younger than me. Tell me that I don't belong there because they've been surfing there their whole life. I said to them, hey, how about I'll just do this for 10, 15 minutes. I just want to try this new board. And then you can have it all to yourself. I'll go. And, he wasn't having any of it. Like, no interest in compromise or working together or how, just like my way or the highway. And then someone was telling me a story about another, local, quote unquote, who's older than me, about how he doesn't like people coming in. But then, Hawaiians or other indigenous people, they could trace theirs back hundreds, thousands of years, So like, where's the perspective? How is he a local and the people that got killed or don't exist anymore are not locals? Do we just draw an imaginary line on the timeline saying, okay, from this day forward, you're a local and all the other people can pound sand. They're no longer locals. Their claim, we'll forget about them and forget that ever happened. If the authorities tell us these are the rules, this is the way it is, these people are in, those people are out, does that automatically make it right? Is it, because they have the most guns and the biggest muscle and, might makes right? Is that how it is? We can just bully our way to getting what we want, respecting each other and The old "don't tread on me" doesn't matter anymore. It's just whoever's got the power can make the rules, and that's the way it is. And if we are excluding people or saying, these people don't belong or they're doing it the wrong way, like where do they go? Do we think that they just disappear? Or that if we get rid of them somehow, that's the end of it, that their relatives, their descendants somehow don't, that just makes it end. That's it. There's no karma. There's no negative consequences from living that way, that it doesn't somehow, some way come back to bite us. How has the my wave, my spot mentality improved our communities or our relations, our beaches, our surf spots? Some of the spots in this video are notorious for fights and bad vibes and conflict. Which one do you think it is watching this video? Just take a guess on what kind of gear they're riding. I'm not judging it as saying that this is why or that's why. I'm just observing that people on certain crafts have a reputation or the people that behave a certain way tend to be on certain crafts, whereas people who are welcoming and inclusive tend to ride other crafts. I don't think it has anything to do with the craft. It's just a mindset, might draw them or have them be attracted to a certain way, and then just naturally self-selecting into a certain kind of gear. But it's just an observation. And why is that? Can we draw any conclusions? How do we know? And what's the path to improving relations, to harmony, to renewability, sustainability? Is it to exclude and to narrow our focus, or is it to open, to expand, to embrace, to welcome, to be curious about gear or people or whatever who are expanding the territory, who are enlarging the amount of rideable waves and spaces and making room for everyone, for more? So I'd love to hear your questions, your solutions. Let me know in the chat, the comments. YouTube has the super thanks. I also have, the link to donate. Or come on over to a website, check it out. So thanks for watching. Hope this was enjoyable, fun to watch.